Hey y'all. So the lights went out with Adam and Eve, right? They were disconnected from light himself, from the Father, and became connected with and under the rule and control of the enemy, of Satan, which was the voice that they chose to listen to. That is, baseline principle, and you can see it in the physical world that we live in, and it is absolutely a spiritual principle. Whatever voice you listen to, whatever voice gives you direction or word or what, you are subject to its rule. Well, it makes sense, right? You are obedient, following its direction. And so if we consider God and his ways and his word and all the things that he says, then we are subject and submitted to God. Is it this was not in my notes, but it just popped in my head. Pretty sure it's in Peter. Submitting yourself to God and he exalting you and putting you on the right place. Let's see. It's 1 Peter 5:6 is one place, and he says, humble yourselves, therefore, lower yourselves in your own estimation under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you, casting the whole of your care, all of your anxieties, your worry, concerns for once and for all on him, for he watchfully and affectionately cares for you. Submitting ourselves to God. And when we submit to God, when we come, it's just so beautiful picture. When we submit ourselves to him and bring ourselves under his rule and reign, then we pass all of that worry and anxiety onto him. And beautiful verses in Matthew chapter 11, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, 11:28. He says, come to me. Jesus says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden and overburdened, and I will cause you to rest. I will ease and relieve and refresh your soul. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am gentle, meek, and humble in heart, and you will find rest, relief, and ease, and refreshment, recreation, and blessed quiet for your souls. For my yoke is wholesome, useful, good, not harsh, hard, sharp, or pressing, but comfortable, gracious, and pleasant, and my burden is light and easy to be borne. Well, the yoke that he's talking about here, we've talked about before, but not in this study in depth, was where two animals were yoked together, plowing the field, or working. And so you would have a more experienced animal yoked together with an inexperienced, and they would learn by actually doing and experiencing the job with the more experienced animal. And so you've got Jesus here who says, come, submit yourself to me, learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. It's not harsh, hard, or pressing. And so when we come and we submit ourselves under God and learn of him and his ways of doing and being right, Jesus said in Matthew, all these things will be added unto you, talking about the worries and the cares and the food and the clothes. And then in 1 Peter, what we just read, humble yourselves before God that he will exalt you, casting your cares on him, giving him the worry. And Jesus tells us here in Matthew 11 that, come be yoked with me, learn how to do it, because it is easy. It's not harsh, hard, or pressing. And that is actually where we can go next. 1 John 5:3, which we were just in 1 John 5. That's really funny. Because the one about submitting yourself to God was not in my notes. We weren't in John, we were in Peter. So if we go over 1 John 5:3, it says, for the true love of God is this, that we do his commands, keep his ordinances, and are mindful of his precepts and teaching. And these orders are not irksome. They are not burdensome, they are not oppressive, and they are not grievous. Isn't that what we just read in Matthew 11, where Jesus says, "Come to me if you're weary, if you're tired, if you're overburdened, and if you're heavy laden." I'm going to read all of those descriptors again, because some of us could probably raise our hand in those. He said, "All you who labor and are heavy laden and overburdened, and I will cause you to rest." I will cause you to rest. And that is these orders, his way of doing things, is not irksome, burdensome, oppressive, or grievous. It's not heavy. It's not hard. And it says, the true love of God is this, that we do his commands, we keep his ordinances, and are mindful of his precepts and teachings. So, if we love God, we will live in his design. And I know, because I'm human, sometimes his design doesn't fit the design that I have laid out. And so sometimes, because I'm stubborn, I'll try to fit that square peg in a round hole. And guess what? It doesn't ever fit. And so then I'm tired and exhausted and weary from doing it my own way. And when we do that, it's disobedience, which is a sin. A lot of times we think about sin being the big and the heavy, but disobedience in any size is still disobedience, which is choosing not to go in the direction that God has instructed us to go. And so, in our Bible study at church, we're reading The Power of a Praying Woman. And in that book, Stormy, she puts it pretty plain and clear that it's black and white, which is what we see, excuse me, in Psalm 1, is that there's not middle ground. Two roads diverged in a wood, and they didn't meet back up. You have those who follow the teachings, precepts, and instructions of God, and then you have those who are disobedient, the wicked, living without God. And yes, he changes us. Yes, we are being sanctified. Yes, we are learning to walk this new walk. But we have to understand and accept that the scale of the sin does not matter to the Father. Sin is sin. And so whether I am disobedient in the routine for my day, or disobedient in putting him first, or disobedient in the way that I speak to my children or my husband, or if I'm disobedient in stealing, or gluttony, or drunkenness, or lying, deceit, the sin is still disobedient. And our cleaner sins are still filthy before the Father. And so, this is leading into December, and I was not planning on that. We have to stop and ask the Holy Spirit to show us these places where we are not following the teaching, precepts, and instructions of the Father, because we want all of our actions, right? John 3:21, but he who practices truth, who does what is right, comes out into the light, so that his works may be plainly shown to be what they are, wrought with God, divinely prompted, done with God's help, and in dependence on him. Because all of our works are going to show the voice that we're listening to. They're going to bear fruit, right? There's always a choice. We choose the seed And in doing so, we choose the fruit. We'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.